tell you more about the happy hour coming up next week. We'll save that for this week. Now let's bring Miss Ruthnie August on. Ruthnie, are you with us? Ruthnie. Wake up, Ruthnie, wake up. Ruthnie. All right, we get back to Ruthnie. She was on a minute ago. I'm gonna get Ruthnie, please. Ruthnie, go ahead and unmute your phone. All right, let's get back to Ruthnie in a minute. Ruthnie is our student at Florida International University, and she'll be graduating in a few. So until then, bring her back in a few minutes. Let's go to Ruthnie, are you there? Hey, Mr. Dobson, are you up? You there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Good, good. Thank you so much. Now, guys, 3 of our 4 guests tonight are 3 young people who I have watched their growth and development over the years. You there with me?
Yes, I was saying hello a minute ago and I couldn't.
You were muted, Ruthnie. Okay, I'll get back to you shortly. Stand by, darling. I have watched them over the years, and I'm just so proud of their accomplishments. Mr. President Dobson, he proudly proclaims that his entire life, listen to this, his entire life is a testimony to God's grace and God's anointing over his existence. Now, this young man has had, as I said before, he has had many firsts in his life, okay? Among them, while at Lehigh, he revitalized his dormant fraternity, Omicron Kappa chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. I thought it was a sorority. Well, okay.
You guys good.
Associate in the spring of 2005. I got broad shoulders. I'm bracing for that. Got a lot of alphas on the line, so they can help me out. He also co-founded and served as a spokesperson for, listen to this, social activist group called The Movement, which raised awareness to climate, social issues around racism, sexism, and homophobia. This young man also accomplished all of that. I mean, about 7 different things he had while being a 3-year varsity letterman, okay, where he helped his football team to win 2 Patriot League football championships and being a member of the Patriot League honor roll in his senior year. Guess what? The president of the university, President Alice Gist, in her first year, she was so impressed by this young man that she awarded him the University Service Award, which is the highest undergraduate honor at Lehigh. He didn't stop there. After he graduated, he relocated to New York City and was ranked as the #1 pharmaceutical marketing rep in the region at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. Now, Mr. President, you were one of the founders, right here locally again first, one of the founders of the scholarship that I alluded to so long. I don't even have time to name it, but you remember what it was. How did that idea come about?
Well, first and foremost, I do have to address the commentary there, sir.
Mr. Can you play time for a commercial?
I do have to address that commentary because, you know, as I recall, I think the old saying was something like first is the was, second is the best, third is the one with a golden chest, or some foolishness like that. But what I do know is that when you look at the leaders of the current activist movement, my frat brother, Mr. Colin Kaepernick, and others who are leading, I think we can agree that historically and now, Greek letter organizations have led the charge. and have been doing so and continue to do so. And so, you know, proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I did pledge and finish as a solo. So I never back down from those challenges either. But that being said, our organization is really focused on the collaboration between a lot of the Greek letter organizations, as well as Prince Hall Masons and Noble Shriners fraternities as well. And what we do is we have connected with some individuals who have gotten us, you know, access to certain institutions across the country that allow us to help these kids get placed. And that's ultimately what we've been looking to do is find more and more institutions that are willing to help these young people prepare themselves for college and to be able to succeed in every field, achieve in every field of human endeavor. And so we are fortunate that one of our members, his nephew, was interested in getting to Harvard. There was a high school program that he was interested in, and unfortunately, he was interested right before the pandemic started. And so it moved to virtual. He didn't have the funds. Long story short, we were able to help secure and do some marketing for him. And then once everything went virtual, we were given a very unique opportunity to expand it beyond the Northeast, because Harvard is located in Boston area. And that gave us the opportunity to get connected with Miss Nia Brown, who's a rising senior at Atlantic High School. And she just finished the program today as the first Harvard Telemed Medical School scholar in the state of Florida history. I lost your audio there, C-Ron. I'm not sure if anyone else can hear you.
He's on mute.
I think you might be on mute, C-Ron.
Oh, okay. You didn't. Okay, guys, that's what
I
happened
can hear
around
you
here.
now.
We were muted. Live again. Can you hear me? Mr. President?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good. Wonderful. What are your plans? By the way, Miss Nia Brown is on the line. She's here with us tonight as well. What are your plans moving forward with this scholarship as it relates to local students? Do you have a limit on how many you plan to accept? And if they want to apply for next year, how do they go about doing so? I can see at least 3 potential on the line, including Miss Asiana Livingston, who has been hounding me about getting involved with this scholarship for a while.
Sure. So first thing is a lot of that's going to be determined based on how everything goes virtual or not for the upcoming academic year. Harvard, amongst many of the other Ivy League schools, have already announced that they're going to be doing virtual classes. So we don't know what that means for next summer. Obviously, if it's virtual, there's an increased opportunity to have people be able to take advantage of it in the virtual setting. But what we're hopeful for is that by next summer, we would actually have protocols in place that would allow for people to travel to the university and actually experience everything on campus. In regards to how far it goes, it's a pretty rigorous application process. Even in a short period of time, we typically start taking applications in early February and then run that through to about mid-April so that we can get some decisions made prior to the kids getting out of school. This year, from all over the country, when they opened it up, you know, we had dozens and dozens of applications, and we settled on only 3 individuals that were actually able to be a part of the program. We have a gentleman outside of the Philadelphia area. We have a young lady who's here in Pennsylvania, where we reside now, and then of course Ms. Nia Brown, who's down there in South Florida.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the floor for Mr. Dobson? Students, Mr. Dobson has to leave us in a few minutes. So do we have any questions for him? I see a hand. Go ahead, Duran.
Hello, my name is Deron Blake Jr. I am Vice President of NKLP Soaring Eagles, and my question to you is, how
You there, Duran?
yes, I'm here. What year did you start your career as the president?
So I have to clarify. When I was about your age, I was at Mount Olive Baptist Church in Delray Beach, and Pastor Leonard C. Johnson came down and spoke to the kids and asked them what they wanted to be when they grew up. And for some reason, the Spirit led me to say that I was going to be the first Black president of the United States. So even though I am in my mid-30s, when I come home, there are certain people who know me as Mr. President. Now, what I will tell you is that I did become president and CEO of my own company at the age of 26 years old. I founded it with my wife. And the fact that I had proclaimed that I wanted to do something that bold, it actually forced the surrounding community to treat me differently than they probably would have treated me otherwise. And I truly did believe and wanted to be the president. It wasn't until I actually got involved with some lawyers and politics that I decided that I'd rather be a social activist who keeps politicians in line than to actually be one. But there's still incredible value in the White House and in any level of governance because they truly do affect how we do what we do on a daily basis. So I hope that answers your question. But I knew that right after I graduated, I knew that ultimately for me to be successful, I was going to need to be an entrepreneur in some way, shape, or form. And that's ultimately what I was able to do in my early 20s.
You know, Mr. President, I have a question here.
Just like you, because right now people keep calling me Mr. President.
Embrace it, sir. What I can guarantee you is that whether you end up being president of the United States, president of your local chamber, president of your own company, there's nothing like being in charge of your own destiny. And that's really what that title means.
And you know, Mr. Dobson, he is currently vice president of his organization, which more than likely he'll be running for the office of president next year. So he may, you never know. You may, DJ, you may become president next year, and you would have earned that title, son. Devin, I have a question here. I have a question for you. Having graduated college and now in the workforce, what do you wish you had known as a 12th grader that would have made your life easier for you today?
There's a couple of things I wish I would have known, but I think probably the most important thing is just how the application process works. I was fortunate that I was recruited to play football to go to Lehigh University, but I got recruited, and this is important, because I already had a high cumulative GPA and high test scores. And so when it came to the admissions process, they didn't have to worry about whether or not I had high enough grades or things of that nature, because I had already taken care of that. But what I didn't know was that there are lots of scholarships that are available to students, both in high school from local organizations, as well as within the institution itself, that if you don't apply for them, you literally are just leaving money on the table. And so my encouragement to all of you and your parents is document all of the things that you are doing and send it out to these various organizations so that you will be in a situation where you can take advantage of some of these scholarships, because that, the money is there. It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to be able to take advantage of them.
Okay, do we have another question from the floor for Mr. Okay, Mr. How is your program funded?
I can move. I'm not on video. Oh, I'm so sorry. What was that last question?
How is your program funded?
So I'm very fortunate that we have a number of nonprofit professionals that are on our team, myself included. And so we do essentially grassroots fundraising just like any other organization would. We have either individuals or corporate sponsors who would look to help the company help these students. One of the biggest challenges that we faced during the pandemic was that we couldn't get a whole lot of corporate sponsors in such a quick period of time. So what we did end up doing is helping some family members gather some funds, doing some free marketing for them. We put together a video and a website and things of that nature. And so that allowed us to help, at least get them through the screening process. And our hope is that now when we have a little bit more lead time, it will allow us to be able to secure some funds and actually put some more money into these students' pockets as they're looking to, get to the next level.
Now talk to me, Devin. What was your major in college?
So I was a business marketing major, and I had a double major in theater. So I do some acting and performance as well. That's ultimately why I went to New York City in the first place.
And how did you finance your education?
Again, I was very fortunate that between my academics and my athletics, I was able to get a full academic scholarship for all of the information as far as my schooling. And then I was able to get some extra money for housing and travel and things of that nature. Okay.
Well, you can stand by if you. I know you have to run, but if you have to go, I fully understand. We have Ruthnie is on the line with us. Ruthnie, are you back with us?
Yes, hello.
Well, thank you again, Ruthnie, for being here with us. You are a great educated mind. Did you know that?
Yes.
How you know that?
You called me and informed me about it.
Because you're at Florida International. Now, Ruthie, you're in your third year at FIU. Am I correct? But you are actually graduating soon. How was that possible?
The grace of God.
Grace of God.
The grace of God, because college is really, it's not what it seems like. When I graduated high school, the vision that I had for college and what I dreamed about, some of the things were true and some of the things were unexpected, but that's just life in general. So it's been a roller coaster, but we're almost through, thank God. So we're pushing to graduate soon.
What was it like? You've been there 3 years now. What has it been like, Ruthnie? What's a typical day like for you on campus?
Okay.
There are a lot of students here who are heading out in a few years and in a few months, I should say, and they have no idea what it's like on campus. They will not get a chance like you did to do a college tour. So
yes.
What can they expect?
A typical day in college for me, well, one thing I'm going to speak about is the work study program. I think it's Federal Student Work Study Grant. So it's a grant that's given to you. So when you apply for FAFSA, for college or university that you're going to, make sure that you click the box that says, okay, I think it says, are you willing to do work study? Is one of those boxes. Make sure to click yes, because the government does give you grant for federal work study where you get granted. For me, I think it was about $3,000 or $2,000. I'm not too sure the number, but you get granted federal work study money, which means that you are allowed to work on campus at any department. For
Now,
example,
Ruthnie, the work study. Ruth, the work study money, do you use that to pay for your tuition, or what's the money used for?
Okay, so it's like it's like you have a regular job, so you can use the work study money for anything that you wish. I personally use it for like my minor bills, such as like my phone bill or my credit card, because you don't really get paid like a lot of money, but it definitely helps. Like if you need groceries, gas, you have a car, you need your phone bills to pay, these credit card bills to pay. You want to pay your student loans and have like $100 monthly payment or like 200 monthly payment. You can choose to use that too, or you can put it into your savings. But for me, I personally use it for my, everyday needs, basically.
And what do you do when you're not in class on weekends? I know you work, but what do you do? What's there to do in Miami? You're in Doral. What is there to do in Doral?
Well, where FIU is located, the main campus, it's not really much to do around here, but definitely South Beach area, downtown Miami area. There's a lot of activities that goes on, like parties. What else? Like the girls, we sometimes go out for a date, for brunch. I go to church on Sundays. So yeah, there's plenty of things to do in South Beach area.
And how's the food, Ruth? I remember the last time when Mr. Dodd and I visited you. You took us to that was about a 6-star restaurant on campus. How's the food?
You're talking about fresh?
What was that?
Well, I'm not. Let me not do false advertisement for the school, okay? So the school tends to give like fresh food, like for the kids that are coming on tour. So I tend to see that they do that a lot. They'll give you like corn, steak, or like really good food, but then like on a regular, once you start going regularly, they don't really give you that fresh ever food. But I must say, when I was a freshman, when you're a freshman, you are required to get a meal plan, and that's going to be costly, obviously, but you are required to get a meal plan because they know that a majority of the freshmen coming fresh from high school does not know how to cook. So you are required to get a meal plan, and you can eat there 7 days a week. You can get the full-time meal plan or the half-time, which is like 5 days, and then there's a 5 days and a 7 days, and then, or you can get the option of like they're just gonna put the money in your account where you can like just eat around campus. Like we have Chick-fil-A, we have Burger King, we have Toyo, we have Jamba Juice, we have Starbucks.
So it's like a food court at the mall.
Yeah, but then like all of the restaurants that we have on campus aren't by each other, but like the main ones are by each other. And then the other ones, you're going to have to do a little walk depending on where you are on campus, but you should be able to access them as well.
So if we're in Miami, we can just come on campus and we can come to the food court, right?
Yes, anyone can come in.
I'll pass out your number after this, Ruthless, so they can call you if they're in town. Ruthless, stand by. We will have some questions for you as we get on in the program. Mr. President, I know you say you had a few questions, a few words to make before you go.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay, sir?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, first and foremost, guys, I want you guys to know how fortunate you are to have somebody like Mr. Siwan Ali and his colleagues actually put something like this together. As I mentioned, I'm originally from Delray Beach, Florida. I'm a proud son of Mount Olives Baptist Church, and he and some of the other leaders, most of which who were Greek letter organization members, Mr. Edwin and Sheila Ross own a couple of businesses in the area. They were mentors of mine. There was a member of Omega Psi Phi who was Mr. Darren Moses. He was owner of a couple of businesses, as well as one of my mentors who actually led me towards Kappa Alpha Psi, a gentleman by the name of Anthony Henderson, ran a youth group through the West Palm Beach alumni chapter. And I share all that to say, first and foremost, thanks to them. But my encouragement to you is that when you benefit from community leaders like the ones we're talking about, it's really, really important that you put yourself in a position to give back to others as well. The reason why we set up our organization, the reason why we put together the scholarship and did the marketing that we did is because we realized that as beneficiaries of that type of mentorship and beneficiaries of that type of leadership, it's important that when you're in a position to give back that you do so. And don't just do a little bit. It needs to be a lifelong career. I want to put something in perspective for you. I was 6 years old when Mr. C. Ron Allen was coming to the youth church to read us books to help us get ready for literacy. I am now 35 years old. So you're talking about 30 years worth of mentorship just from one individual. Imagine what you could do if each one of you were willing to do the same thing. And so, the last thing I just wanted to share with you guys is that you now have an obligation when you do graduate and go from high school to college and from college to your graduate degrees. It's important that you guys are intentional about making sure you give back to the community so that the next generation doesn't have to work so hard to get to the same level of success. They can actually go much further than you are going to go. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much for those kind words, sir. And what a great transition to our next segment. Speaking of the house of worship, I know you have to run.
You guys
we'll get with you soon, brother. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is, our next guest, if you will, is, as I shared with you earlier, he's a man of the cloth. He's an attorney, but also, what's your appropriate title, Mr. Stevens? Is a reverend, minister, pastor? What your parishioners, what do they call you?
Different parishioners call me different things. Some of them just call me Don. Some of them call me pastor. Some of them call me reverend. They call me different things.
Leader. Now, thank you very much, by the way, for being with us this afternoon. You're an attorney and have been practicing for a long, long time. How did you become interested in going to law school to become a lawyer? How did this all start?
I think the first thing that started was when I grew up in Pompano Beach, Florida, and I would see young Black men from my neighborhood get arrested, and I wouldn't see them again. And then they would come out and we would talk. And I had no understanding of the system. So I saw a problem, but I didn't have the confidence to really, at that time, think I could ever become a lawyer. And then one summer I was involved in a summer program at Eli High School, playing basketball in the gym and stuff like that. And they stopped us from playing and we ate lunch. They would give us the lunch, free lunch on the park or at the gym. And they brought a Black lawyer up and he began to speak. And that's the first time that I thought, or I realized that I could actually become a lawyer, because I had never seen a Black lawyer before. Where I grew up, you didn't even see a lot of Black professionals. It's not like it's today. So to see a Black lawyer come up and speak to us and tell us that we could do it, that we could be a lawyer, that stuck with me. That moment stuck with me. And so fast forward many years later, I actually decided to go ahead and study for the LSAT and get a good grade on that and go to law school. But it started with me being sort of in fear for myself and for others in terms of the racism and other things that were involved in policing. Really, it just didn't seem like, it seemed like somebody would get arrested and they would just be gone for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And so I wanted to know my rights because I was afraid that somebody could just pick me up and take me away, put me in jail, lock me up. So I wanted to know what my rights were, but I didn't have the confidence to believe I could do that until I saw a black lawyer.
Okay. Now, did you have a mentor or mentors in your life? And if so, how important is having a mentor in your life?
Having a mentor is very important. I had several mentors. It's weird that I'm having this conversation with you because probably about maybe 4 or 5 nights ago, I woke up in the middle of the night and the Lord began to speak to me. And he began to show me my life and why I went through certain things and why I was in certain places. I had no confidence in early on, and then I began to gain confidence. Well, my mother actually was my first mentor, and she was probably had the biggest influence on my life. My mother, a strong Black woman who did not have anything other than a high school education initially, who was a maid, but who instilled some values in me, instilled hard work in me. She grew up on a farm. But when I was in first grade, second grade, I had problems reading. And in the Black community at the time, if your parents were not educated, you were not treated as if you had any intellect or that if you were smart. So my parents came from the farms, so I was treated as if I was dumb or I wasn't smart. So whenever the teachers made up the group, they would put me in the highest group. I wouldn't be in group 1. I was considered the slower kid. And so I remember complaining about my mother and having bad grades. My mother took a switch, and every day I came home from school, I had to sit next to her. I had on short pants, and she had a switch in her hand, and she would take a book, and she taught me how to read. Every time I would mess up, she would whack me on the leg with that switch. And the only way I was able to get from up under her was that I had to go, I had to learn how to read, and I had to learn how to write. My mother, not the school, taught me how to read and taught me how to write. And she taught me what to do and how to do things. And she taught me what not to do. And she was my first mentor, and then my dad. And then throughout my life, God always had a man or a woman to mentor me. And there's a teacher who mentored me, and I can't remember her name. I used to remember her name. But I remember being in like middle school, and I was smart at that time. But I still thought they had integrated the schools, and I still thought that white kids were smarter than me. So I remember being in class, and we were taking a test, and I was sitting next to this white kid. And so I erased all of my answers, and I copied all of his answers, and I got an F. And so that teacher, she saw my answers, and she saw that they matched his answers. She pulled me to the side. She said, "Did you cheat?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I thought so. You made an F." She said, "You don't know something. Let me tell you something." I said, "What?" She said, "You think that kid's smarter than you?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because he's white." She said, "No, he's not smarter than you, and his being white doesn't make him smarter than you." She gave me the test again, and I made an A. I needed that. She wasn't somebody who was in my life all the time, every day, but that was a big change in my life. That moment, having people in your life. And there are sometimes you have people to mentor you, they give you advice. In the spiritual realm is disciple you. And she discipled me. She continued to tell me that. And one of my greatest mentors was when I was in college. I had a professor. I went to a historical Black college and university. It was a small school. It looked like a dump. But I had a professor, Dr. Enrique Ramirez, who had taught at a big major university. He decided to come to our little small school because he wanted to help minorities. That guy pulled me aside. Out of all the kids, he pulled me aside. He said, "You're special." And he began to mentor me. He began to challenge me. He began to tell me what I needed to do. He began to tell me, don't listen to this, don't listen to that. And when I got to college, same thing, law school, same thing happened to me. I had a mentor, it was a Jewish professor who pulled me aside and said, you know what, you're good at this. You can do this. Don't listen to what people are saying. Don't look at what's around you. And he began to mentor me. And so what God did for me was I had Black mentors, I had Jewish mentors, I had Hispanic mentors, I had white mentors. I had male mentors, I had female mentors. God then began to show me that there were people from all races, from all color, creed, sexes, or whatever, that had invested in my life, that had built things in me to help me, and that without them, I would not have ever gotten to the place where I am now, or got to the place of doing what I have been able to do.
What a blessing, what a blessing. Hold that thought. Let me get Breonna Jackson in, and then we have some questions for you. Questions keep coming in. Guys, either send your questions via text. You can either text them to me or send them via in the chat. I'm getting them. We have quite a few questions, but we have a few more people we got to get in here. Look, guys, today is July 31st. Just today, Navy Lieutenant JG Madeline Sweigel made history as she earned her wings of gold. That's huge in the aviation field, as the first Black female U.S. Navy tactical airjet pilot. Okay, first one. Now we have with us today Miss Breonna Jackson. Breonna, while you may not have made it to the history books as yet, and somehow I know you're going to do it, darling, you are creating history for many on this forum tonight, as this is, you know what? The first time many of these young people are meeting a Black and more so a young female pilot. The very first time. We have a very strong aviation program that we work with some of our local kids, and they have never seen some of them have seen, some saw some Black female pilots in Miami a few months ago, but most of them have never seen one. So right here, this is huge for them. And let me just add that Miss Jackson is on her way from class right now. She's literally in Miami heading north. So she just got out of training, so she'll be joining us by phone. However, if you guys would like, I can ask her to stop by one of our meetings over the coming weeks, just so you have a chance to meet her and see her and ask her some more questions. But Breonna, what inspired you to take to the skies, if you will?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
So I always noticed that growing up, my head was always in the sky. Like my eyes were always to the sky. Anytime I saw an airplane, I would put a crick in my neck, just trying to see that airplane, until it went out of view. And so when I was around 10 or 11, I just told my mom, I want to be a pilot. I want to be an airline pilot. Because back then, that was all I knew about aviation. I knew that pilots flew airplanes. I wanted to be around airplanes, so I'm going to be a pilot. So my mom took the idea and ran with it and just made sure that almost every year I was in some type of aviation summer camp or doing some type of aviation activity. And when I got to high school, when I was in my junior year of high school, I was taking chemistry and physics because I thought that to be a pilot, you had to be really good at math. And I wasn't doing well in chemistry and physics. So I told myself, I can't be a pilot because I'm really bad at math. So I actually didn't go to school for aviation. I went to University of Connecticut for a year and a half, and I wasn't happy there. I was still looking to the sky. And so a year into being a freshman at UConn, I transferred to Western Michigan University's flight program. And then that's where I got all my licenses and my bachelor's of aviation. After graduating, I became a flight instructor. And so I taught people how to fly. And a year after that, I became a first officer at Republic Airways flying the Embraer 170 and 175.
Now, along the way, did you have mentors or a mentor? And how important has that been, if you had one? How important has that been to you?
Yeah, so I'm actually the first pilot in my family. So all the information that we got about aviation was through the internet or through friends. So I needed a mentor that had been experienced in the industry and could kind of help me guide the way. And my first mentor I met in 2016. He actually interviewed me for a scholarship. And to this day, I'll call him and ask him for advice. And it's just so nice to have someone who is always available, who always makes time for you, who's very experienced in your industry and just can kind of give you advice and help guide you through.
Okay. Brianna, I just got a question here. Wow. Motor vehicle drivers do not need to take refresher courses. Why do pilots need to go back to school? Wow. That must be from DJ.
Why do pilots have to go back to school?
Yes. Apparently, when I said earlier that you were coming from class, I guess that's what they were referring to.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I'm actually in training right now because I won a scholarship from Airbus to get certified in an Airbus 320. So I won a scholarship to fly a bigger airplane. So that's what CRON means by I'm coming from class. I'm in Miami right now getting my Airbus certification. But every year, I legally have to go through refresher training because there are certain skills, you hear the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. So there are a couple of drills that we have to do every year just to make sure that we still know how to fly and fly well and fly safe. So it's just reinforcing those skills, making sure that, in the very rare chance that an emergency happens, that, I still know how to fly the plane safely and I know what to do.
Got you. Now, being a pilot, I'm sure that's pretty costly. And let me just add, someone just texted me and said, Bessie Coleman was, we know Bessie was the first female. I did not say she was the first Black female pilot. Said she was the first Black fighter pilot. Big difference. How did you finance your education, Brianna?
I got a lot of help from my mom and my family members, a lot of unconditional support. And about a year and a half into my flight training, my mom got laid off. And so I had other family members who just, cared about my dream so much that they helped. So I had a very good support network growing up. And I also applied for scholarships. Aviation is a small industry, but there are a lot of professional organizations out there to help you. There's Women in Aviation, there's the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. Both scholarships that I've won have been through the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. So that's how I paid for my education, through scholarships and then through help from my family.
Speaking of scholarships, Guy, I just want to let you know that there are a lot of unclaimed scholarships that are out there. We were in touch this week with a young lady who earned over $500,000 in scholarship. She'll be joining us. Dina, do you have the date? She'll be joining us later this month or maybe in August. Well, next month. She'll be joining us, I think, the third Friday in August. Over $500,000 she earned, $500,000 to go to college. So in other words, she's getting paid, or she got paid to go to college. So there are a lot of scholarships out there that went on or go unclaimed every year. So Brianna, you have been in the workforce some time now. As you look back on your college years, what advice you have for the 11th and 12th graders that you wish you had known back then?
I think one thing that I wish I would have done was I wish I would have worked a little bit harder and studied harder. I am someone who does not enjoy homework, and in high school I did not want to do my homework, and I remember my junior year of high school, my GPA had dropped pretty low. I was stressed. I was taking a lot of AP courses. And so because of that, you have to work hard your senior year too, but usually that year is a bit easier because the GPA that the colleges are taking are from your junior year, but I really had to work hard my senior year to pull my GPA up to make sure that not only did I get into college, but when I sent my final transcripts, I was able to save my place in my incoming class. So I do wish that I would have worked harder in high school, and I wish that when I was applying to schools, I would have been more open-minded about my options. The school that I went to has the third best flight program in the country behind Embry-Riddle and behind University of North Dakota. And I wanted the best. I wanted to go to the best school. And sometimes going to the best is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So while, you should, if you want to go to that school, and if you really want to go to the school, go for it. But I personally wish that I would have evaluated my other options, and I mean other flight schools. There's wonderful flight schools around the country that were a little less expensive, that have the same qualifications as my school did.
Okay. Let me go over to Joe Jones. Mr. Jones, you attended, you went to Florida A&M University. Also, let me just add, he is one of those pretty boys from the fraternity you just heard a while ago, Kappa Alpha. Was it Kappa Alpha Omega? One of those. You also were a drum major, and you were the man on campus. You were a Kappa. You were the drum major. You had it going on for you, brother. But you lost your scholarship. What happened?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. That's the name of it. But second of all, yeah, so I was fortunate enough to receive a full academic scholarship to FAMU when I graduated from Suncoast. And I joined my degree program as a junior when normally, people join as a freshman. I had that much dual enrollment from Suncoast. I think I had my first semester of the year was, I guess they called it like my sophomore year. And then by that second spring semester, I was taking graduate level courses. And I mean, they were hard. They were extremely hard. So I had one professor who he just so happened to have a few gripes with the class, and the class suffered a academic infringement. And so out of all of my grades of the year, I had I think 2 A's, 3 B's, and that 1 C was from that one teacher. He gave the whole class a C, and that C ended up.
If your phone is open, please mute your phone, please. We're getting a lot of background noise. Good, Joe.
Yeah. So hold on. Let me fix my. Can you guys hear me?
Joe?
Hello?
Yes.
Well, you once said that, by the way, let me just acknowledge a longtime supporter of KOP Mentor Network, Ms. Rita Thrasher. Rita, great having you with us this evening. Thank you so much. All things considered, great having you with us. Joe, you once said, Joe, that you started the internship program at your high school, Suncoast, with the with the intent of making Palm Beach the next Silicon Valley. If you will, there are a lot of people don't understand that analogy. Can you explain that? Can you explain that for us, please?
Yeah, so actually, I started the internship that you're referring to. I'm fortunate enough to work for Johnson & Johnson as a software engineer. And part of my personal, we call them Credo activities, which is community engagement. I wanted to bring the tech world to Palm Beach County as far as showing minorities, especially, young Black men. There are other things that you can do besides catching a ball or, running up and down a track in order to, be successful in life. So I kind of made it my mission. I called up some friends of mine who, were back at home, and I talked to some of our leadership, and they sponsored a 3-day event where we came down, 20 members from our software engineering team. We taught the students. We took them out of class at Suncoast Wednesday through Friday. The whole day we were in the auditorium with good music, and we presented them with a problem, which was how do you deal with stress? And after you figure that out, how can you develop a technical solution that can help you with your stress? So they had the full school day from 8 to 2, Thursday and Friday, to create a solution. They were able to present that in front of a panel of senior management from Johnson & Johnson, the NextEra Energy company. And part of the individuals who were helping to support the effort was actually a group called Palm Beach Tech, whose mission was founded upon making, Palm Beach County the next Silicon Valley, which is making it the technology hub to where we would soon have, businesses like Microsoft and Google housing offices in Palm Beach County, right around the City Place complex, big corporations, which would bring an influx in not just jobs, but it would kind of change our community as far as where do we, the way that we view careers and the different kinds of careers that we can, go after.
Okay, Joe, what are your plans to, and I'm getting some text, Joe, can you speak up a little louder? Apparently, they're having difficulty hearing you. But what are your plans to expand this program for this year, in particular, kids who do not attend Suncoast?
So my particular plan is to open it eventually to Palm Beach County. This was not a specific to Suncoast initiative. This was actually just, Suncoast was a test pilot. We wanted to prove that, or I personally wanted to prove that this was experience, bringing something new to the county. They have never had a hackathon before. Not many people knew what it was. So now the goal is to expand it across Palm Beach County and then hopefully the state of Florida, and then just go from there.
Okay. Janaya, you have a question? Go ahead, Janaya, with your question.
My question, my name's Janaya Mary. I'm in the 10th grade at Village Academy. And my question was for Miss August. And I wanted to ask her personally, how much time does she take to study for class?
Okay, Janai, you have two devices on, sweetheart. You're gonna have to turn one down. You're getting echoed. Ruthna, did you hear the question? Ruthnie? Okay, she's muted again. Don, I have a question here for you. You've been working for a long time, and you had children who graduated college. What do you wish you had known as a 12th grader that would have made your life easier years later?
Well, you know what? Maybe 10 years ago, I could give you a whole list of things.
Hello?
But honestly, looking back now,
Hello?
I think everything probably worked out the way that it was supposed to, simply because I ended up going to I ended up going to a very small historical Black college university, a Black college. And I didn't work hard in high school, and I definitely wish I had worked harder in high school. And I wanted to play basketball. But those things led me to this small Black school, which is where people mentored me. It's the only school that I've ever gone to. It's called Texas College in Tyler, Texas. It's the only school I went to where the main purpose of that school was to help people like me, people who needed to be polished, people who needed to be prepared. And so the teachers were not just trying to teach me, they were also trying to mentor me.
Right.
And so I was motivated to do well because I love my mom and we didn't have a lot. And I wanted to do well in school. So I did work hard. But if I had to do something differently, I think it would have been, I didn't do homework in high school. So it was probably one of the things I did do. Now, when I got to college, I worked really, really hard. I studied, I went to the library every day between 6 and 9 p.m. I stayed in there from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and I worked my butt off every day in college. It was a job to me because I wanted to do well. And I did really well my first semester, so I even picked it up an extra notch. But when I was in high school, all I wanted to do was play basketball, date, and hang out with my friends. But I was very smart. But so I made good grades, but I never really studied that hard. But when I got to college, I studied really, really hard right away because I understood something, and that is this. If I wanted to get a job, if I wanted to go to grad school, if I wanted to be successful and make money, I needed to be at that small school. I needed to graduate at the top or near the top of my class. And so I ended up graduating #1 in my class. I needed to be able to do that to get to the places I wanted to go. But by the time I got to college, I recognized that I could not do what I did in high school, which was not take it seriously. I was gifted, but I needed to work and study harder. And the other thing is, when I was growing up, there was sort of, you were looked upon as soft or bad if you were smart in high school. It's kind of crazy, but there was a stereotype that if you study hard and you made good grades, you were not cool. So I wanted to be cool, as opposed to trying to study hard. Now, I made good grades, but I could have done a lot better. But when I got to college, I picked it up.
Okay. Now, some of you guys probably recall a few months ago, we had a judge who spoke to us here, and she also did the installation of our officers. That happens to be Attorney Stevens' better half. Now, Attorney Stevens, what does it feel like be married to a judge?
That's a good question.
Who's the boss in the house?
Actually, the boss in the house is God.
Amen. Amen.
And then the next boss in the house is who God put in charge.
There you go. All right.
Okay. So God put me in charge. so as the leader of the house, but the thing is, being married to an intelligent woman is a very, very smart decision to make. I never have to make decisions by myself. I have someone who doesn't think like I do, who's probably smarter than I am naturally, and who's been more places than I've been. So rather than trying to dominate her, I try to get information from her so that we can make the best decision for our family. And we work together. I mean, we are a team. We work together.
Got you. Let me also add that Attorney Stevens is a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, our latest partners And you'll be hearing a lot, guys, a lot from the brothers of this fraternity in the coming weeks. In fact, we have several members on the call this night, and we welcome you guys. Thank you for investing in our youth. Joe, I have a question for you. Someone wants to know, as a software engineer, what exactly do you do? What is a software engineer?
The answer is I'm still trying to figure it out. So my job is it's very vast. Currently, what I do is at Johnson & Johnson, what people don't know is that we're a big healthcare tech company. So we're actually technically working on a cure for cancer, where we extract the cancerous cells, we rejuvenate them, and we inject them back into the body. It kills out the cancerous cells, and so far in the trials that we put it in, it's been proven to work. So all of those things, all the machines, all the the baby powder, conveyor belts, all that stuff requires software. So my job is to create the directions that tell the technology what to move and when to move and how to move. And depending on what aspect of the company I'm serving in, it could be a vast variety of things.
Okay. Now, Joe, you, I think you've done some recruiting for your company, and as someone in this field, as you go back to your school, or you've gone to all the school, are our students today, are they prepared to enter the workforce? How has things changed since you were in school?
I don't think it's at all, honestly. I just graduated 2 years ago. So compared to when I was in school, I think now corporations are taking a look at the fact that we are missing the mark on diversity and inclusion. That's something that I'm currently working with, the vice president of HR personally for software engineering and a few other sectors of the company. How do we get more people who look like me to do the job that I'm doing, which right now is slim to none. On a team of like 300 people, I think we have about, I want to say like 5 to 8 Black people, in that specific sector alone, So yeah, that's a goal that we're doing. I think to answer the first part of the question, our community definitely does prepare our students for the workforce better than, I think our community thinks better than students think. To be successful in a corporate job, you have to be 3 things, which is hungry, humble, and smart. And you learn all of that from your community. So I think we definitely prepare the student really well. I just think we have to kind of trust that we are preparing them well.
Okay. Well, guys, that will about do it for this week's edition of Community Conversation. Let me say thank you very much, Ms. Ruthnie August, Mr. Don Stevens, Mr. Devin Dobson, Mr. Joe Jones, and Miss Brianna Jackson. Young people, as we've always said, there's no greater investment, none, that you can make on a Friday evening than being with like-minded people on Community Conversation. Look, last week I made a challenge to you guys. We have $50, a whole $50, whoever can and have invited 10 people or 20 friends or family members to Community Conversation. We still have not gotten yet. So we're going to extend that for one more week. I know Dina tried, but we're going to extend that for one more week. Please try to be here no later than 6:55 next week so we can have an on-time start. We're trying to keep this thing to 1 hour. Okay, we're going through we're ironing out the bugs now, guy. Bear with us tonight. Pardon us, but we went over a little. We're trying to keep this thing down to 1 hour. Again, guys, tonight's show was produced by Dina Bazoo from Milagro Center. Thanks to our guests, and a big sincere shout out to the Boca Raton Tribune for simulcasting us on Facebook. Until next time, have some fun, guys.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Social distance this week. Wear your mask, and please, please, please be safe, because This thing is a beast. Okay, it does not discriminate. Okay, we do not want to lose you.
Hello,
We do
Mr.
not want you to
Theon.
get
Hello?
sick. Okay, you
Mr.
mean a lot to
Theon.
us. Hey, from all of us here, have a good night and see you next week.